So hi, thanks for coming for the fan project panel, all 5 of you. But I guess my friend Josh doesn't really count because I made him come. So that's Josh, and then my dog Toby is there. He's scared, but he's doing his best. He's the real MVP. For those who don't know, I love Kim Possible a lot. I'm a YouTuber. I've been doing YouTube for 10 years. This was my 10-year YouTube anniversary. Don't ask me how old I am, I won't tell you. And if you don't know me, we produce on my YouTube channel. It's not just reviews. We do original animations. We do fan animations, but we do them from scratch. So we storyboard them. I direct them. I'm an artist, so I make sure artists do artist things like being on model, and we can talk about animator things if that's a question that people have. But that's generally, so I do a big range of things, so I have a lot of different hats. It's not just like reviews on my channel. Yeah, I guess we'll just kind of get to it. So it's a small crowd for now, so if you guys have any questions, they told me the microphone is that middle microphone. You guys can come up and ask questions. Thanks, my friend. And hopefully we'll get some more people flood in here as I keep on talking and embarrassing myself. What's your name?
Name is Victor.
Hey Victor, what's up? Thanks for coming to the panel a lot.
So I'm actually leadership on a fandom project.
Okay, what fandom?
Project Moki. We're hosting a panel on Saturday.
Oh, okay. Like what is that about? Like what?
Our panel is about making a fandub and pretty much.
Oh, it's a fandub. Okay.
Yeah, fandub, not
okay, gotcha,
fan project.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So what's your question?
So one of the problems we've been having recently is audio mixing and trying to make sure everyone sounds kind of the same quality. Do you have any advice like how to get that? Because we've tried some things and it's just made the audio somehow.
It sounds like your VAs are recording in a lot of different places and a lot of so I would have maybe a group chat with all your VAs and just make sure they all have somewhat professional equipment. They're not recording in their bathroom. So that way on your end, once you get to the audio mixing, then it should hopefully be as clean, because at the end of the day, you can't really do much if the core audio quality isn't good anyway.
No, yeah.
So, and people are kind of they're hesitant to ask those kind of things, especially if it's a nonprofit project. But communication is the best policy, and you just lead kindly, and to be it's not a criticism. It's not just you, or it's not just anyone specifically, but we're having a lot of different mixing problems. We really appreciate if you guys could get together and we talk about it. And I think they'd appreciate that, to be honest, because that way they can talk to the other VAs on there if they want, or you can do it individually based on their schedule. Just kind of ask each actor specifically and what their preference is with this idea, and then kind of go from there. But that's the TLDR of it. But yeah, just kind of regulate that a little bit on their end before you receive the audio.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but you can get back online as we go, so I'm sure you have more than one question. Hey, what's up, my man, my booth buddy?
Hi there, how you doing?
Hey.
So, we've all seen some fan projects get off the ground and some that failed to launch, and without disparaging anybody, I always wondered, is there a good way to set expectations with people who really want to do something and are really excited, but might be possibly taking the project in the wrong direction with that excitement?
Okay, I'm gonna actually go with my video, because my video goes into that, and then if you have any further questions after that, we can do it. Okay, so this is the video that's gonna be played for all these people. It's Horse Me, so just as a heads up. Woo, we're awake. So, word on the street is you want to start a fan project, huh, kid? Can you guys hear okay?
Whoa!
You wanna buy a sundial?
Well, you've come to the right place. Luckily for you, I'm a production master, having made all sorts of projects and dealt with all sorts of people, so I can give you the honest, hard-hitting facts about how to get this bad boy done in steps. You should probably take notes. Step number 1, don't run. Run while you can. Fan projects are a huge time commitment depending on the project you have in mind. When choosing them, you'd want to have these things in mind, like your level of experience, your level of commitment, and the free time you can dedicate to a project. Now take some time to think about those factors. Still want to do a fan project?
Yes.
Well then, you might want to pay attention to the rest of the presentation. The real step number 1, outlining your strengths. So this is the fun part. I'll tell you right now, the more you can contribute to a project, the more likely it can get done, because you don't have to yell at anyone else, except yourself. Don't abuse yourself, kids. It's bad. But anyway, you can start thinking about what you contribute to a project. Can you edit videos? Can you write scripts? Can you voice act? Can you draw? You should decide what you'll be doing on this project before you start asking for outside talent. The more you can do, the higher chance your project will be done. Yay! And on that note, the more in demand your skill is, the more likely you can get a wider range of talent. For example, most people have the power to write, even voice act or sing or draw. But if you can animate or even video edit, then your skill's in higher demand, you know? Step number 2, choosing your project. This is also fun. Choosing what you want to do, well, to start, please, oh god, don't get ahead of yourselves. All the time people be like, I want to make a 200-minute animation starring my own Alicorn OC, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to be horse famous, and the babes will love me. Calm down there. I recommend starting smaller, like an audio-based project or even a comic dub. That way, all you need to worry about is contacting a few voice actors and basic audio and video editing. Something small. No Alicorn animations, please. Step number 3, planning ahead. So, remember step number 1 when you decide what you're going to do and what others will do? That. You might want to write that down. Better yet, write it in a pitch. What's a pitch? Well, it's like a detailed description of your idea, shortened. Better yet, you can make a demo reel of what you have in mind for a project. If you can edit something small. Provide your voice for samples of certain characters, show your drawings, or write a script if all else fails and present it to others. Now that's pitching. In general though, short project descriptions are not as effective as full-fledged scripts, audio, or any other kind of source you can provide. It will show that you take the project seriously, so anyone who wants to join should too. Guys, here's a tip. Please don't approach people with, oh my god, I had the greatest idea ever. Please help, senpai notice me. Please, oh lord. Welcome to YouTube comments. You want to at least pretend to be professional. Step number 4, research your ideal talent. Things like, what kind of role could they have? What can they contribute? Do they work for free? Is this someone you can trust to turn in their work? Do they have a good record? Any problems with internet or upcoming vacations? Keep in mind that some people only do commissioned or paid work. Feel free to ask, but don't take it personally when they decline. You can potentially be asking for many free hours that they cannot contribute. If you can pay people though, then I almost guarantee results. But make sure you have a contract. Contract's your best pony. Step number 5, contact.
Hello.
No, not like the movie Contact. Go check if your contact is a business email first, and then if that doesn't work, go nuts and try anything except Twitter. Don't tweet people, guys, but DA messages, Tumblr, whatever. So you've got all the stuff done, now what? Step number 6, deadlines. There's this thing called deadlines. Assuming you hear from whoever and they've agreed to do the project. It's super important to have deadlines, and the number 1 reason projects fail is that they just don't happen is lack of structure and deadlines. I don't care if it's your mom, your best friend, your dog. You need to have a plan to get everything you need to have a project done. Also, don't be afraid to bother people. They might hate you, but it's gonna have to happen. People procrastinate. It happens. You also need to make sure everyone in your group is clear about their job and can approach you with questions if needed, so that way they can't blame anyone but themselves if they miss stuff. With my people, I usually say, what's fair for you and your schedule, so they can plan around stuff they have to do. Last thing I want to talk about is my other helpful hints. Number 1, plan on days to check in with people to see progress. That way if you see something you don't like, you can point it out. Number 2, you should try Skype or Discord for instant messaging options, much faster than emails. Number 3, plan to have project call meetings. It helps everyone communicate with each other, people communicate directly, and honestly, it saves tons of time. Please, plan on them. So that's all I gotta say. We move on to the best part, Q&A. Don't ask stupid questions.
The rest of the panel is Q&A. I have some things about animation if we get to that, if it comes up naturally, but the rest is up to you guys. We have until 6:45, so feel free to go at it. I just make sure everyone who has a question gets their question asked, and then we can have repeats. But anyway, go ahead, Mr. Mann.
Yes. Once you have your video or your podcast done, how do you market yourself as far as buying clicks or trusting the algorithm or posting?
It's basically just making a schedule and sticking to it. So a lot of times for podcasts specifically, they do multiple episodes in a week so they can build a library and they can just schedule stuff every week. So it's kind of getting the audience that you hope to make in the habit of, on Tuesdays this podcast comes out, and you kind of, they're like dogs. You train them, not in a dismissive way, but you train them to look forward to new content. And then, they can share it with their friends and be like, oh, I'm listening to this podcast. It's coming out today. Would you want to listen to it to me? And then you kind of introduce and indoctrinate people that way. But the other thing is just use social media. I see it all the time, especially at big shows like this. Just commission an artist to do like good work if you need to, at least for like the headshots or the graphic design or something, because it goes back to what I said in the video. If you take the project seriously and you present it professionally, then other people will fall in line, but other people kind of respect that and they'll kind of get on that with you. So that's kind of the general, presentation is important, first impressions are important. So social media, presentation, and getting a queue or schedule ready are the biggest things for podcasts. I also have my own podcast called Animation Communication. I think we're on episode 80 or something. So you can kind of see how that's we market that. We have like a Twitter for it. We do like before promos, before the episode drops, and then after, we call them in case you missed it, with like a little line from the episode. So you can you hype the episode up, and whatever guest that you're gonna get, you like tell them like these are when the promotional assets are dropping, so they know to retweet it, and you kind of co-market. But a lot of people like to talk about themselves, so podcast booking are usually pretty easy because of that, one way or the other. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, who else has a question? Yeah.
So you have great tips. Have you seen things that have quote unquote failed,
Mm-hmm.
and why has it been, even if they kind of did all those steps?
The safe reason is project management is hard. So, and usually creative people are afraid to be of confrontation one way or the other. So if you're going to lead a project, just know that going in that you will have to confront people. And as long as you do it in a respectful manner, it's fine, because a lot of times artists specifically, or anyone creatively, there's mental health issues, there might be family issues, real life issues that they're embarrassed to tell you about. So you can just, you're just checking in to make sure they're okay, is there anything they need, kind of thing. Promote, do HR research essentially to kind of make sure you find a way that honors their humanity, and then kind of talk about the project. And then kind of just say, hey, if you need a break, just let me know. But just kind of for the worst case situations like hospitalizations, I say, hey, can we check in every 2 weeks? When can we check in? And kind of just feel it out based on the situation, and then kind of make a decision. Just be like, okay, well, because of because of this thing that's happened, we realistically need someone to take the work, but we're happy to have you back on for the next time or whatever. We understand, and my condolences, or whatever the case. But at the end of the day, you need deadlines regardless of what is happening, or else just things won't get done. Even if it's nonprofit, just things don't get done. And having deadlines forces the other party to plan ahead and plan accordingly, because procrastinated work is messy work, and you want to prevent that if possible.
I love Little Mermaid, and who do you play?
You got to talk in the mic, friend.
Do you play one of the sisters?
Do I play one of the sisters?
Yeah.
From My Little Pony?
No, from Little Mermaid.
No, I'm not a voice actress. I'm just some girl on the internet, and I just do fandom stuff. Tara Strong plays the daughter, and she plays some of the minor princesses in the prequel movie Ariel's Beginning. So that's probably your best bet for the con here.
You look like one of them. That's why.
Oh yeah. I have a lot of subtle Ariel swag because I'm modding that panel, and I'm freaking out on the inside about it. But that's for another panel.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem, friend. Thanks for asking your question.
What would you think of as the gold standard for a fandom project? What has been done that has been done so well that everybody should look up to it?
My projects, no. I think anything that's impressive, especially if it's nonprofit, because nonprofit means you have to, it just means a lot of HR work on the background, because you have to find people that want to do it for the right reasons. So they want the resume work, they want the team building work, they want kind of resume material, and they're not doing it. I've had a lot of creepy guys come and want to be on my production team to do creepy guy things, and I can usually see that 1.5 miles away, and they can't. And they try to manipulate me to be like, oh yeah, but can't I just see pictures of your feed? And I'm just like, no, thank you. Asking those questions up front and saying why do you want to be here? We can't pay you. And it's just about having those direct and honest conversations. And if they're over 18, just respect what they want. and make sure you're crediting them. But that's what I said about the paid things is, money talks and, money can motivate people. But I've also seen people get screwed over from paying people to do projects and they just are still afraid of the confrontation and they lose like hundreds and hundreds of dollars trying to pay for things that they're not going to get. So, which is an unfortunate reality. So, having those deadlines and having like mini deadlines to check on different, like know what you're asking for. So if you're doing an animation, like learn about animation and learn the different the steps of the process. So you can check on like the animatic step and the rough animation step and do they use reference footage, that kind of stuff. And so that way they don't turn in a finished thing. You're like, hey, I hate it. So, because that's dismissive of their time. So, just direct communication is your best friend and just being honest with all parties.
So let's say you posted everything to social media and you want to reach out to your specific fandom and market directly to them. Let's say you're doing a YouTube video or something. How would you do that besides trusting the algorithm or Reddit or
Don't
something?
trust the algorithm.
No. Yeah. So what else do I do?
Research the fandom, see if they have any like fandom news outlets and stuff like that, and get in contact and say, hey, I'm starting this project. We already have X amount of episodes done. If you have any talent from the main like thing, or if you have any like voice actors, if you're doing anything that you think or you're personally excited about and want to share with them, just to show that you're excited, just to show that you take it seriously. It doesn't have to be someone from the official content, but that's an impressive first step. And just say, hey, I would wait till you already have a couple out and be like, hey, we already have 2 out, hyperlink them in the email. We have more coming out. We already have like 6 pre-recorded, whatever, we release them. So it's not just because on the other end, and I get this all the time, where people are passionate about wanting to do a thing, but they have no conceptual idea of how actually to do the thing, and they haven't put in the hours to do the thing, they haven't put in the time to learn how to do the thing. And like from like our perspective, it's just like, well, it's great that you want to do the thing, but I don't think you know what you're doing. So proving that you already know what you're doing from the front end will go a long way, is the short answer. Yeah.
And then follow up to that, how would you get sponsors?
You have to build your brand before you even think about getting sponsors. So I always tell people, just do it because you want to do it, and sponsors will come if you do all the things I've told you first. But I've also seen people want to get into YouTube to make money, and that is their only reason, and that is a toxic reason, because everyone wants to make money and everyone wants that goal. But if you don't achieve that goal because you don't do your homework, or even if it's like your thing doesn't land and you do all the right things, then it's gonna feel like a waste of time. You feel like you put all this emotional energy into this thing and you were rejected from the internet. So I just say do it for fun, but approach it professionally and just don't expect anything. And then if you do get stuff down the line, then you're like, oh, okay, people actually like my thing. And also be open to feedback, like feel people out, and like especially the news outlet thing, like if they ghost you, say, hey, I reached out, I didn't hear anything, is there any feedback you have for me? I'm kind of new to this. And they'll probably tell you if you gauge it, but usually if you don't gauge it, they're afraid to even say anything, because creatives are in general non-confrontational. But if you gauge it in like, I really appreciate any constructive criticism you have, using that word specifically, your feedback, then they're like, oh, okay, he just wants to learn. And when you want to learn, then all the teachers in the back of our heads are like, yes, he wants to learn, hence this panel. So, that's generally it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
We are a nonprofit, Dubs, and it's a little tough for some of the departments because everything we're doing is already written out. We're just dubbing over it. So I guess my question is, our scripting side is lacking a little bit. There's like one person, she's amazing, but she can't do everything. So how would you like advertise the less glamorous side of
Can she teach you guys how to script?
Well, that's the thing. I'm already like one of the lead editors, and then we also have like
that wasn't my question. Can she?
Theoretically, yes.
Are you open to learn?
Theoretically, yes. I scripted out an editing tutorial.
Well, if you are open to learn and other people are open to learn, then you solve your own problem.
Fair enough.
And then in general, you have to create a team environment where people feel comfortable to ask those kind of questions and people can be cross-trained, because realistically, when people are cross-trained, then you can make more content and you can get it out faster because people can wear multiple hats. This happens a lot when people like want to be an artist or an animator, but they're not open to do anything else. And I'm just like, well, I understand that, but realistically we need an editor because it's a YouTube channel, and it's great that we have animations, but we need an editor to edit the videos for the animations. You can't do anything with your animations unless we have an editor. Just kind of explaining it in like, not dismissive, but realistic terms. And then they're like, well, editing might, I'm just using that as an example, but editing might be relevant to animation anyway, because After Effects is very relevant for animation. Premiere can be, if you like Premiere or the Adobe Suite. There's a million ways to animate. Yeah, I think phrasing it that way. So, and you specifically sitting on that question, would you be open to learning new skills or getting comfortable? And I bet your friend would be willing to teach you once you've had that conversation with her. She'd be like, oh, thank God, I'm so happy that you're helping because I'm so overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Thank you.
No problem.
Hello.
Hey, random person, how are you?
Good. Hey, how can I ask people for help without feeling guilty?
So therapy is helpful. If you can't afford therapy in general, then you can get like self-help books on Amazon. They're like $10, but at the end of the day, it's a self-confidence thing. It's also a tool that you have to practice about, getting more comfortable with being vulnerable, because, everyone has these ambitious ideas, but if they're not open about just being one person who can't do everything by themselves, regardless of anything else happening in real life, like family or illness or anything, then, it's not going to get done. And everyone's human, and everyone has health issues to worry about one way or the other. And if you can't say, hey, I just can't do this, I have COVID, I'm sick, I need help, then, and you don't build a trusting environment, then things aren't going to get done at the end of the day. So you need to be vulnerable if you want to be in a leadership position, period, but you have to be open to hearing other people's issues as far as their own vulnerability. But if you want to volunteer, if you want to get in the industry, then you're going to have to be vulnerable and you're going to have to be open to constructive criticism. And it's fine if you're not, if you just want to do commission work, but at the end of the day, that's kind of, it's a team effort, and you need to be part. There's no I in team kind of logic, essentially. That's the TLDR of that.
If you could go back to like when you first started, in your first 6 months, what would be the like 2 biggest bullet points or nuggets of advice that you would give yourself, that maybe 2 things that you did wrong or you could have done better or maybe you didn't understand at the time?
Oh, God. Well, I won't say this on the main stage, but like there was a big issue that happened like several years ago that on the internet that caused the dog to be the dog, the service dog. Just be wary, I guess, is the biggest thing, because if you do all the steps and as you get more popular, quote unquote popular, whatever, you build the algorithm, whatever you want to call it, people might have malicious intent one way or the other, and I think it's a little harder for me than for you, because as a woman on the internet, there's different factors you have to keep an eye on. The other part of it too is just like, it just kind of learning how to pick up the red flags. And, if someone says they want to do your thing because of X, but they really want the parasocial relationship, or they want, like, they have no friends, or, not that those things can't be worked with, but, they have to be on the project and willing to help for healthy reasons and not for their own self-validation reasons, because I've had that, and it's just like a hot mess, because you end up being their mom or their therapist, and you're just like, I don't mean to be rude, but like, I didn't sign up to be your therapist. I'm just trying to make this project, and like, just learning to call it on your own end and saying like, hey, we appreciate it, but like, I just don't have the time because I have my own life. So just being honest with that, and that's very much trial and error as far as feeling those people out and seeing how badly you get, hopefully you don't get screwed, but sometimes you might get a little bit screwed by someone who misses a deadline or whatever, and then you get sad, and then you're like, okay, lesson learned, check that box off, okay, so it's very much trial and error that way.
Where can I find resources, like free resources, in order to do
free
the jobs
resources.
I need to do?
That's a good question. I don't know where it is, but like if you go on Twitter, there's like a Twitter thing that trends as far as substitutes for the Adobe Suite, because this Adobe Suite, which is like editing and Illustrator and just like general After Effects, just general like editing tools, is locked under a PayPal, and it's a monthly subscription. It's not like a pay once and get it all done. But unfortunately, that stuff is the industry standard until Adobe dies, which I hope they do soon. I don't work for Adobe, so whatever. They can't come at me. You like DaVinci Resolve and HitFilm or open source editing softwares. Fire Alpaca and SAI are open source editing or art programs. Like Audacity, I think they recently got hacked like a year ago, but that's a generally open source audio editing software. So these things exist, but you just have to be aware, and just be aware if there's a trial. What's happening within the industry is all the free programs that are paid for professional use but open source, like Blender. Blender is a 3D animation program or a 3D modeling program. What's going to happen is something's going to happen where they're just like, Maya's the industry standard program. It's like, why am I paying for Maya when I could just get Blender for free? And then there'll be a ripple effect. But right now, studios aren't thinking that far ahead with all of the other things going on. But that's kind of slowly changing over time, and I hope that continues to change. But the short answer is that stuff is out there, exists in the ether. You just have to find and learn how to use it.
Was there any like one episode or one step that you took that you noticed a significant increase in viewership, or one step that you took that really propelled you from the starting stages to...
The bigger the better. So the thing that really propelled me like in the early stages is like I did a really big fan animation for the voice actor for Q, who plays my favorite character in the pony show named Discord. And that I think people like, I purposely didn't...
Is that John DeLance? Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, he's not at this show, but he does this circuit, I know. I haven't seen him since before COVID or whatever, but in regards to that, I could go on rants about, like, I want you what? Like, it took him a little bit, but anyway, I think I purposely didn't hype it that much. I just kind of waited for it to be done and then, like, surprise people. And then I think it took people out of nowhere, because I'm like, who is this girl? How did she make, like a 4-minute animation with all these, like, original characters in it? And I think that's my best advice, is just kind of do a sleeper big project and do all those steps, and then like drop it, like hype it a little bit once it's complete. Never hype anything until it's like mostly complete, because that was a thing that happened a lot in the pony fandom, is people would hype like, oh, we're making a feature film fan project. I'm just like, no, you're not. Like, come on, man. Like, that's not happening, man. And it didn't happen, man. So don't get ahead of yourself, but you can kind of just feel it out. But that requires a lot of research. Like, luckily, I already knew a lot about animation before even starting that. And now I'm comfortable saying I'm an animator, but before then I wasn't sure, but I knew like just layman stuff about animation. And I've always been an artist. I've always been a draftsman. Now I feel confident post taking some animation classes, essentially. But yeah, and then I think it's gonna, like, for me what happened is it took people by left field, and then all those media like things, like, get them to be like, once you're ready to drop in like 2 weeks, be like, hey, we have this thing, we can give you a press copy of it, we want you to help us promote it, because we just love this fandom, and this is a tribute to this fandom or this person or these whatever, and just say, and then I think people will be impressed the fact that it's actually done and you're not just like blowing up your butt, because people don't have time for that. They got other stuff to do. But if you show them, and then they feel special, and they're like, oh, we got an exclusive, So you show it to them, and then it's cool because it shocks people, and then they like backtrack on your previous stuff, because they're just like, who is this guy, and how did he come out of nowhere? But you've been there the whole time. You just kind of been keeping all the down low, and that's my advice for that.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
My question is, if we're talking about making something out of ponies, does it necessarily... Could we put something else in the pony universe besides ponies?
Oh, you must be new here.
Yeah.
So I've never read it. I like my media to be visual, but there's a huge subculture of the Brony fandom where it's a Fallout equestrian. It's called Fallout Equestrian. It's Fallout with My Little Pony, and it's like apocalyptic ponies. And it's like there's novels of it. There's novels, like huge, thick novels of this fan fiction, and they sell it at like the My Little Pony conventions as like a physical book. So it's not just grounded in the actual lore of the show. People just kind of like that kind of is a mix, but you can just say like, Star Wars with My Little Pony characters and kind of readapt like those together to reintroduce those characters in a different world. The sky's the limit, so I think the layman would get confused about why is everything ponies, but it's just because the lore is interesting, but I think when people fell in love with the lore and the world, they're just like, what if their brains are like, their neurons went, what if the ponies were Star Wars characters? What if the ponies were Disney characters? I gotta draw Ariel as a My Little Pony character, so that kind of stuff exploded from that end, from an insider.
Full disclosure, I actually was thinking more along lines like moose, camels. I just think that
Yeah, there's different breeds of animals in the pony world. It's always, there was a joke a while ago because the cows were sentient, but there was a scene where they milked the cows, so there's just kind of like a weird morality contract there that I don't think the writers were aware of at the time. So, but the general idea with anything with hooves was sentient, and everything with not hooves, like there's dogs and cats, but they're just dogs and cats in the pony world. But then you can make your own rules too if you want to make your own, My Little Pony inspired story, but like something else, because Hasbro doesn't own the horse as a concept. No one really does because it's a horse. It's a natural animal, so you can always there's clever ways people have been able to diversify the IP so it's not a My Little Pony thing anymore. It's their own, or it's a parody or something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. If she says if it's harder to find an audience now, it's different. I guess you have more avenues. Like TikTok is a great avenue, but creators in general have to be more wary because there's a licensing thing in TikTok that anything you put on TikTok is not yours anymore. So I guess it's just whatever you're comfortable with, and I feel bad for the children who get into TikTok and then they put a thing on TikTok and then it's not a hot take and they get bullied for it. And I'm just like, children can consume TikTok, I guess, with their parents' consent, but they probably shouldn't be posting on TikTok. But yeah, I'd say at least 16 or older to actually make content, because I get making content, but it just, or content that's safe. If you're doing a speed draw or something, that's relatively safe. But things that are more risky that someone could take and do a bad composition or do a bad frame, and you don't want to. Cyberbullying is a thing that I've had to deal with personally. It's not fun. That's my advice to all the parents out there: is just be careful what your child is consuming on the internet. Just have honest conversations with them about it. So go ahead.
If you were making a TikTok video or a YouTube video, would you recommend making a shortened version for YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Instagram Reels?
Yeah, we do that. Where we take, we'll do these long 20-minute videos, and then we'll take gags from the videos and make them into TikToks. And I learned we used to brand them with bottom and top branders because the YouTube dimensions are not the same as the TikTok dimensions. So if we take a standard YouTube video and put it on TikTok, then it gets it has to be small. So we tried to brand it, and that didn't really work because people are turned off by all the branding. But yeah, that's an idea, and that's what I usually recommend if you want more long form content is find a couple of things to isolate and maybe put it on social media or whatever, and just say, hey, this is from this thing, this person did this, you find the whole episode, blah 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 blah, and then people can kind of get a vibe for the conversation without having to sit for an hour and a half if they don't have the time. They can get a taste of it, as it were. So.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, I'm wondering, how can you become a guest at a convention?
You either invite it or you're asked, but I would just build a portfolio before you even attempt that, because if not, they're gonna be like, who is this person who asked to be a guest when they don't even have a single thing on their channel of content that they've made. That's happened a lot where people are, I want to be a guest. I created a YouTube channel. And I'm just I've never hosted a convention, but I'm sure they're just what are you gonna talk about? Like, you don't even, like, there's nothing on this channel. Like, what do you, I don't even know what you're about, man. So, like, by doing your channel, you're kind of making a portfolio of, like, what you're about, man. So if you say, hey, you know, can I just, even, like, start small. If you want to, like, do some school teaching something or whatever, and just say, hey, I have a small, be honest and be like, hey, I'm a new podcaster. I have maybe like 15 episodes out. Like, I've been doing this for 6 months. I'd like to talk to kids about, you know, what it's like being a fan and fandom stuff, or like, I'd like to come into Jimmy's school if you have children and say, like, talk about what I do on the internet because I think it would be interesting to them, you know, whatever you want to say, just to kind of, like, because it's not really about, you know, making a brand, but it's just kind of using what you learn to educate others to it. And that's kind of a big reason why I do this, is because people don't really know where to start, and they say, like, oh, you did all these animations on your channel. I'm just like, yes, but it was very hard. Like, it's not for the faint of heart. You know, you have to really just be strict about managing your own time at the end of the day too, and being honest with yourself, and being able to do confrontation and practicing your own skills. Like I always say, like, I've taken like 4 animation classes. I have over 200 hours of life drawing. I'm not saying that as a brag, but I'm just saying, like, I've done the work to get where I'm at. I'm not just like vibing off the fumes of, you know, other people. So it, you know, build your, you know, kind of start small, and just whatever you do, film it and say, and kind of build from there, build up until you know, you feel comfortable approaching, like, maybe like a small event even, and just say, hey, you know, I'm just happy to buy a table and just vibe. Like, you can always buy a table. Like, anyone can buy a table. So, you know, assuming you get in line, you know, you get there, you plan ahead. That's what I mean. So.